Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. 419-794-3030 online. Americasretirementheadquarters.com. CNN's Anderson Cooper comes from a very rich family. His mother was heiress and fashion designer Gloria Vanderbilt. But if you think he inherited a chunk of money upon her passing, well, think again.
Both my parents, they sat me down when I was, 8 or 9, and before I even knew what a trust fund was, and explained to me that, a lot of people are going to think that you're going to inherit money and that you come from this family and they're going to make assumptions about you, but we want you to know that this is not the reality and there's not some pot of gold waiting for you. And, we think it's important that you find your own way and make a name for yourself. And I was all for that.
And this is something that Cooper actually plans to replicate, do the same with his son. Now, there are those out there, I'm sure, that are following a similar route with their children or grandchildren. But if that is the case, what advice can you offer on how to broach that conversation?
Well, I think that's great that they had that conversation with him. I think it's important, to be transparent and communicate that. I would say in all of these years doing this, unfortunately, every year we have, a loved one that's a client pass away, and we sit down and we help with the estates. And I would say if you've seen a family be destroyed, it's oftentimes in those areas where that conversation wasn't ever had, and the children had an expectation of what things were going to be like, and they didn't necessarily turn out that way. When we get together with our clients and we sit down and we kind of have the conversation, what we oftentimes we talk about is the question, should I spend my money or leave it to my kids? We'll ask them on a rank of importance. Is it more important that you spend every dollar and the perfect retirement is your last paycheck bounces, or is it important to pass money on? And everybody's situation's a little bit different.
Sure.
My desire, I think, for my kids is to help them help themselves, to get them through life and, to get them educated. But at the same time, they have to, build their own future. What really I think about it, what most families aren't kind of thinking about is, and most families maybe aren't necessarily as wealthy as the Vanderbilt family was, but even though Gloria had a lot of money, she really spent a lot of money, lived a lavish lifestyle in retirement. Sure. Even though she got divorced several times, she still passed away with an estate over $1.5 million. So she had said, well, I'm not leaving a trust fund. I'm not leaving a lot of assets. I think we would all agree $1.5 million is still a significant amount of money when you stop and think about the impact that can have. And so we will have clients that will say, Nolan, our goal is to not leave a bunch of money for our kids. We've helped them in life. But I think the reality is in the situation that we see here is what happened is she didn't attempt to do any type of tax planning, with her estate. She didn't try to avoid probate. And it really, to me, it shows that proper planning should be done even if you plan on spending your last dime. Mm-hmm. If there is money left over, and your choice is, do you leave it to a loved one? Do you leave it to a charity, a church or some other organization that's important to you? Or would you rather have it be wasted in lawyer fees, excess taxes,
sure,
legal fees? I think most people would say, well, Nolan, obviously, if there is money left over, I want it to go to the people that I care about the most. And my least favorite relative is Uncle Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've had several conversations with certain clients is put a plan in place while you can make your decisions now. If you are stricken with some health issue and you are, maybe in a long-term care facility or, who knows what the situation may be, you may not be in a position where you can control and dictate what you want done. It's one thing for, Gloria Vanderbilt to have $1.5 million at the end of, end of the day, but to do nothing with that is where you really, really lacked. And like I said, while you're able to make a decision and determine where you want that money to go, you should put a plan in place. That's why we've actually come up with the Ultimate Estate Planning Guide that helps people go through and specify where they want certain monies to go. A lot of the other things in that guide are account numbers, passwords. Dealing with the passing of my dad almost a year ago now, not knowing what the logins or the passwords or the phone numbers, if you can get all of that put together and put into the Ultimate Estate Planning Guide, it makes life a whole lot easier when that time does come to where you need to actually implement that.
I agree. The Ultimate Estate Planning Guide can be something that really help you start this conversation with your loved ones, start it with your kids. And again, whether you plan on spending your money or leaving it to your kids, getting these things in place to avoid some of these common mistakes. What we've done is we've taken, the best of knowledge that we have in our, combined 50 years plus of experience of working with families through these situations to put this together for you. This is something that, again, I'm not an attorney. I would always encourage you to seek the advice of a qualified estate planning attorney when making important legal decisions, but this guide can help get you started in the right direction to figure out, are my beneficiaries up to date? Do I name the correct things? What goes through a will, what doesn't? Where do I keep those important legal documents, and how can my family find them? And, if you would like a copy of that Ultimate Estate Planning Guide, that's something that we just to make available, because we don't want your family to end up in that situation like you've probably seen when somebody passes away and a family gets ultimately destroyed from it. It doesn't have to be that way if we can start the conversation and we can avoid these common mistakes. And at the end of the day, you can do more for your loved ones and less for the government and people that are trying to take your money ultimately when you pass it on. That's what we're happy to help with.
Yeah, if you haven't actually experienced helping someone settle an estate, the grieving process is very difficult for people, right? And there's people out there that haven't necessarily lost a loved one to where they've been impacted by going through and settling that estate. The grieving process is difficult as it is, but when you then, after that process has passed a little bit and you have to start getting into settling an estate, where are the policies kept? Where's the life insurance at? I didn't know they had this policy. Where's the phone bill? Who do I contact to shut off this, that, or the other? It's very, very time-consuming and stressful when you've got all of these loose ends out there. Don't do that to your family or your loved one or even whoever you name as an executor of your estate. Have things put in place and make sure that you know what's going on, and they can easily pick up the Ultimate Estate Planning Guide that you've filled out, look through that, and say, look at here, this is who I need to contact for this, that, or the other.
It's already an emotionally stressful time, the loss of a loved one. I don't think that's a secret to anybody out there, but it can be compounded if there is this confusion, this uncertainty, regardless of what it is that you want to do with the money that you've accumulated. If you want to give it to loved ones, if you do, in fact, want your last, check to the undertaker to bounce, you need to have a plan put in place to make sure that that is done properly, especially with charities, things like that. And here's the truth of it. If for some reason you want to have Uncle Sam be the relative that gets a significant portion of you can actually go and do that right now. There is a place on the IRS's website. You can make that donation anonymously. I know that there are people out there who are listening right now, and they're all saying, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I don't think anyone ever really goes to that part of the website. So having a plan put in place is tantamount, regardless of what you want to do with your retirement money. Make sure that that is done properly. The Ultimate Estate Planning Checklist can help with that. The team at America's Retirement Headquarters can help with that. To get started, give a call, 419-794-3030. That's 419-794-3030. Online, americasretirementheadquarters.com.